Good morning, and welcome to another Fastrax webinar. Today we are going to be going over utilizing accounting in Warehouse. So in Warehouse, I have it open now. We're actually in accounting, which is this module down at the very bottom. And as you can see, I have ledger entries. So to show you how we get there, the first thing that we'd have to do is, for the setup, we'd want to go into the accounting ledger, or the accounting module here, and we'd go to chart of accounts. This is where we put in our account number and a description. And if you're using any type of accounting software, the account number would be whatever you use for like your orders and your purchases and so forth. Just to keep it simple, I used my account number as orders and purchases, and that's what I put as my descriptions as well. But once we have our chart of accounts set up, the next thing we'd want to do is go to maintenance. From maintenance, we're going to go to settings. And we're going to come down to automatically add journal entries. As you can see, I already have it checked. And we have orders journal account. I've got orders. This will just match to whatever your account number is for your orders. The same for purchases. Once we have that set, we would come down and save settings. And so now anytime there is an order or purchase order done, it'll automatically log that into the accounting ledger. So if we go back to accounting now, as you can see, we have the ledgers, the first tab that comes up. This shows all the entries, all the orders, all the purchases that show up here. As you can see, the first several are under the customer. This means this was an order that I fulfilled and sent out to one of my customers. The very last one here, there's nothing under customer, but it's under vendor. And that's because this was a purchase that I made from my vendor and received that in. And also, if we look, our very first one here, we have this showing as paid. We have the option to only show unpaid. So if I check that and do a refresh, that one no longer shows. Under the ledger, we can change our date range. We can also filter by account if we choose to. By default, it shows all, so it'll show every account, every transaction. The next tab over, we have ledger history. This is going to be specific to an account. And so as you can see, this shows my ledger entries for this account. It gives me what the total balance is for the account, what is current. Then if I had anything that was over 30 days, over 60, or over 90 days, it would show in here. Also, once an invoice has been paid, like this one that has already been paid, it's got a checkbox. It shows us what method they used, and we can put notes in there, and we'll go over that in just a few moments on how to enter payments. So just kind of to give you a general idea of how this works, if I go into my inventory and I create a new order, this can be for any account. pick this order. I want to fill it. Alright, as we see, this order is 34. So I'm going to go ahead and close it. So 34 shows as an invoiced order. I go back into accounting. As you can see, 34 has been added to my ledger. Also, keep in mind that the timestamp on the ledger is for when the order was invoiced. For example, if we look at invoice number 19, it's got the invoice of today's date, but if I go and look at invoiced orders, the order originally was put in on March the 29th. But since it was only invoiced today, it goes in today as the date for the ledger. Okay, as far as doing payments, there's a couple different ways to do this. We can do it individually, so I can select this particular order. I can tell it to add. It tells me it's an order, general expense. I can put in entry amount, invoice number. But the way that I'm going to do this is, if you double click it, it tells me what the invoice amount is, what the balance is, and I can hit add. I have the options to do check, cash, credit card, or other. So that's my balance. That's what they're paying for my payment notes. I can put in a check number. This would be just for my reference if I wanted to have this entered in. And once I hit save, as you can see, invoice 19, this is the amount. Now there's a zero balance. So now when we go back into the ledger, it is now marked as paid. Another option is we could actually go into the ledger history. And again, this is done by account. As we can see, this is the one that was just paid. I have my check method. I have my notes here for the check number. But I can also go in here and tell it to mass pay. So this pulls up all the unpaid invoices for this account, and I can just go in and tell it that they're going to pay these three. So it adds them all together and gives me my total payment amount. Again, I can do cash, check, credit card, how they're going to pay. We'll just say they're going to do cash. Again, I can put notes if I choose to. It's not necessary. This would just be for your record keeping. But I hit apply. And now, as you can see, those are paid. So also, maybe a customer is not going to pay the full amount on an invoice. I can pull up the invoice. Their balance is $139.64. Let's say they bring in cash, but they only have $100. So I saved it. It shows me that there was a cash payment for $100. The invoice amount, of course, does not change, but now my balance is only $39.64. So once we go back to the ledger, we can see the invoice amount. We tendered $100, leaving a $39.64 balance. And as you can also see, the paid checkbox is not checked. They paid a portion of the account balance, but not the full invoice amount. So the checkbox will not get checked until they pay off and make the balance zero for this invoice. All right. Another thing that we do have in the accounting module is we have a couple different reports down here that you can run. You can do your expenses. You can look at a balance report, an aging report, or an aging snapshot. We have a lot of customers that really look at the aging report. You can do this by account groups if you choose to. Another way that you can do it is you could filter to a certain account and run your aging report that way. You would still leave these blank. If I wanted to use a different date range, I could check this and change my date here as well. If not, it's going to default to what's at the top. But once I run the report, it tells me what their total balance is. If they have anything over 30, 60, or 90, it gives me their invoices. So this is what is still owed. Run the balance report. This shows just what each account owes. This would be their total amount that is still due to you. Under expense report, it would show any expenses that you had. Of course, I do not have any here, so it just is a blank report. And there's also the option to do like an aging snapshot, but I don't have any. Well, first I need to set my date here to say if I want to look for the first. If I actually had snapshots, I would have information to pull up, but I do not have snapshots set up on this warehouse. But the main reports that most people run are your aging reports and your balance reports, just to see what the total balance is for your customers. And the aging is basically a breakdown to by account for all the invoices they still are outstanding. That pretty much covers accounting in warehouse. If you need a refresher, or if there is a past webinar that we've had that you'd like to go back over and look, those all can be found on our website. Just go to FTx.com, go to FTx Lifeline. Just scroll down about halfway down the page. There's the webinar section. And this shows all of our previous webinars. And we actually have where you can pick which type you're looking for. So if you're looking just for warehouse, if you click on warehouse, this is only going to show you warehouse webinars. But if there's any that you would like to review, you can just hit view recording and you'd be able to either download it or watch it on the website. That concludes today's webinar. I hope it was informative for you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.